Looks like I'm not getting the job.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is the last content for exam 3, which will be on Wednesday of next week. What I'd like for you to be able to do for the lecture portion of the course would be to know how to define each of these respiratory volumes, and then for most of them, some of them you can't do it directly, but for most of these I'd like for you to be able to describe how they are measured. Then next week in the lab, we'll take it one step further and measure them. Yeah, so that's the way this will go. So let's start over here on this side. I did mention just very briefly last time to you that these are average volumes. In the laboratory, you're not going to get these numbers, just so alleviate some of your angst that I know is coming when you're measuring them. You'll say, well, that's not what I'm getting. The truth is, whenever you're doing this in a lab setting and you're trying to measure the volumes become much more pronounced. I think some of you probably saw that yesterday whenever you're doing vagal tone. So you try to close your eyes and focus on not thinking about breathing. That is all you do, is think about breathing. So it's not easy to measure things like tidal volumes. So you have to sort of put a patient in a situation or a subject in a situation where they're really relaxed and not thinking about their breathing cycle, because conscious control plays a big role in these volumes. Okay, so here they are. The first one is the tidal volume. And you can see something that should look familiar to you. This is what you guys were doing yesterday, measuring the inspiration, expiration, just by measuring the volume of the chest cavity. Now, you weren't measuring the specific volumes, but you're measuring the expansion of the thorax and the deflation. And so you can see that up and down, inspiration, expiration here. What I want you to notice here is that tidal volume is not the combination of these. This is the only place where students get confused about this. When I say tidal volume, normally people say, well, that's a normal breath. And so students think that will be the inspiration and the expiration, but that's not what tidal volume is. It is either the inspiration or the expiration, and not both. So you can see that inspire here, expire here. The tidal volume is normally between 300 and 500 milliliters. So you can see here a number of something around 2,500 to something around 2,800 here in the scale that's being used. So 300 to 500 milliliters is a typical volume for a tidal volume. It is the normal amount of air, either inspired or expired during a normal breathing pattern. The next one on the list is the inspiratory reserve. And if you track this up, you get something around 28, something around 58. So average inspiratory reserve is around 3 liters. Here's the definition. Inspiratory reserve volume is the amount of air that can be inspired after a tidal volume inspiration. So that's why we call it the reserve. It's how much room you have left after a normal inspiration, the inspiratory reserve volume. And it is a large number. So of all the volumes we're going to measure, of all the volumes we're going to see here, functional volumes, you can see here that the inspiratory reserve is the largest, only to the vital capacity. So about 3 liters here for the inspiratory reserve. Now here's how you measure it. Tidal volume should be obvious, you just measure breathing. Inspiratory reserve volume, you tell the patient to breathe normally, and then you give them some instructions. You say, I want you to take 3 or 4 breaths, and after the 3rd or 4th one, during a normal breathing pattern, stop after the normal inhale. Pause. Then inspire maximally. That is the inspiratory reserve, so that's how you would do it in the laboratory. The next one on the list is the expiratory reserve volume, or ERV. This one's sometimes referred to as IRV and TV. The expiratory reserve volume is on the other side. So this is the amount of air that can be expired after a normal tidal volume expiration. So you're instructing your patient here, you say breathe normally after 3 or 4 normal breaths, stop after a normal exhale. Then expire everything you have left. That is the expiratory reserve volume. And you can see if you look at the numbers here, something around 1,400, somewhere up around 2,400, about a liter. So I keep these numbers in round figures. Some texts will say this is 1,200, about 1,000, about a liter here, about 3 to 500 mils, about 3 liters here. So 1, 3 to 5, 3. So 3 liters inspiratory reserve, about a liter for expiratory reserve. It is interesting to note here, I always point this out. It is interesting to note how the system appears to be set up. How the system appears to be set up. So this is where we live, right here. This is normal, tidal volume, breathing in and out and in and out. So we exist on the expiratory reserve side. The room that we have in our system for breathing is all on the inspire side. Y'all see that? So it's like we live downstream in our breathing. It gives you the capacity to get a lot of air should your system need it. I just point things out like that. It's just not accidental things in human physiology. It's just very distinct. It makes sense here. It's a safety net. You got some room in your system. You live on the expire side. We all do. All right. Continuing on, the next volume here is the residual volume, and I've talked about this before. So you can see here, it's about somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1,200 milliliters. We'll call it a liter, about a liter or so of residual volume. So 1, 2, 3 makes 5.5. So you're talking about the whole system here. You're talking about air in the area of about 5.5 liters. Now the residual volume, we talked about this one before whenever I mentioned alveolar macrophages to you. So it's important that you have these guys in there. I didn't tell you the whole story of the macrophages. It's a very cool story. I told you a little bit of it. But there are thousands of macrophages that are eating junk in your lungs, and you're swallowing them all the time. They're going down your stomach. So I mentioned residual volume when I told you there's air in your alveoli that you never get out. And so now you can see that about a liter of air, right in that neighborhood, always remains. Once you take your first breath, it never leaves. All right, so those are the important ones now. We can start doing a little math. This one will be the one that you are likely, I know that boys always pay attention to this one. For some reason they think they're superstars if they have a big number. Okay, that's not what that means. But you can have your little competitions if you want to. This is the vital capacity number. Vital capacity is arguably the most important initial clinical manifestation of problems in the airway and lung tissue. Measuring it is done, this vital capacity measurement is done every heart patient in the hospital after they've had bypass or something done in their chest. They're going to have a little tube sitting right next to their bed. And the nurse is going to come in and say, I need you to blow in the spirometer. And they're going to measure what the volume air is that you can get in that spirometer, and how much, what the volume is, and how fast you can expire in order to see is a great initial indication about what's going on in here. A measurement of the vital capacity. It is, by definition, all of the air in the system except the residual volume. That's the vital capacity. Now, the volume of vital capacity is the thing that you guys are going to be competing for. This is what you want to see. How much air can I get in and out of my system? So you're going to instruct each other to take a deep breath, as deep as possible, and then you're going to be instructed to blow that air out as fast and completely as you possibly can. Now, as you blow that vital capacity out, here's what you go through. So you take your deep breath and you run the system all the way down to the residual volume here. So when you go like that, all of this air is in the system. Now the reason I mentioned residual volume, this air is not going to come out. So now you're going to blow it all out as fast as you can. You blow out the expiratory reserve, then you blow out the tidal volume, then you blow out the inspiratory reserve. So vital capacity is by definition ERV plus TV plus IRV. It's all the volume except the residual volume. And it should be something in the neighborhood. It's different for men and women. It's different for different different heights. It's different for different ages. And so I see no point trying to memorize those numbers. In the same way you guys asked me in the lab yesterday about what the numbers are, the percentages are for blood types. I see no reason to memorize those things. We can look them up, yeah? It's easy enough to look on a table. But you can see the averages here. I'd like for you to know at least the averages. And you already know them from what I've taught you. About 3 liters, about half a liter, about another liter. So an average vital capacity number is going to be 4.5 liters. Y'all see it? About 4.5 liters. Now, it'll be interesting to see how these things play out for you guys in the laboratory. Now let's talk clinical. Why is the vital capacity number so important? Okay, for one thing, if you have a patient, and they've had something done in their thoracic cage, you have them blow into the thing, and you measure the volume, and it's 800 milliliters. Wade's going like that, and he's right. You see, this is an immediate issue here. So, Miss Duffy's dad had bypass surgery last week, and I'm in there, and I walk in, and you know the first thing I notice? Sitting on the table right next to him is a little spirometer that he can do vital capacities with. So I asked him, "They're making you blow in the thing?" He said, "Yeah, absolutely." He said, and he was mad because they had been giving him some medication that had sort of, knocked him on his behind that he didn't expect. He said, "Yeah, I had gotten that thing where I could blow it all the way up to 1,500 milliliters." Yeah? And so he's thinking, I'm good to go. What are you going to tell him? Dude, you're not good to go, right? You still got a long way to go. There's some injury in there, and your lungs are still recovering from the cardiac surgeon mucking around in your thoracic cage. So, clinical, first thing, you're going to notice that next time you go to the hospital, you walk into the room, you see the little thing that they blow into, you're going to go, I know what that's for. All right, and the second thing here is the volumes, according to time, are the next best indicator for respiratory issues as an initial indicator. And these have special names. They're called forced expiratory volumes, or FEVs. And they're all related to the vital capacity measurement. So you say, what the clinician wants to know is, what is the FEV1? What is the FEV2? What is the FEV3? And when they say that, 1, 2, and 3 means first second, second, third second. How much air are you blowing out? Whenever you force the air out in a vital capacity breath, when you force it out as hard and fast as you can, how much air should you be getting out in the first second? And the answer is a known clinical value, about 75%. So 3/4 of it should be gone in the first second. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of it should be gone in the second second. And if you're not done in 3 seconds, there's something wrong. You see the value of this? It will tell you, watching them blow the air out in second 1, 2, and 3, will tell you about the elastic nature of their lung tissue. Our lungs have a lot of elastic tissue in them. And that's what they're supposed to have. When the diaphragm releases, it's supposed to be like letting a rubber band go. The air comes out. But some people don't do that well. People with emphysema and asthma, any kind of COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, they all have problems with their forced expiratory volumes. Typically, the volumes are lower, and what else would you guess? Not only are their vital capacity numbers lower, but their FEVs are slow. Yeah. So they're still blowing air out 4 to 5 seconds into the vital capacity breath. All of us go, they go. There's not enough elastic tissue in there. And emphysema, the alveolar spaces start getting brittle and they don't get the air out as efficiently. The forced expiratory volumes are very important clinical numbers. All right? Now, these last volumes here should be self-explanatory. The inspiratory capacity, don't look. Your inspiratory capacity. What volumes encompass your inspiratory capacity? Inspiratory reserve and tidal volume. Yes, you can see that on here. What about the functional residual capacity? I like to think about functional here as meaning, you know, the air that will have oxygen and CO2 in it. All of the residual air in the system. Residual meaning the air in there that I don't normally mess with. This would be the expiratory reserve. I don't mess with that. It's in there, right? I don't blow it out. And the residual volume, which never leaves. And then the total lung capacity should be obvious here. So questions about respiratory volumes. We're done. Anybody got comments or questions about how to do those? We'll do them next week in the lab. All right, let's introduce digestion to you.